been uploading some videos of like myself that I had been taking leading up to the time that I decided to die, and I've been referring to it as a very long wake, but a pre-wake and a wake for myself, and because I had absolutely no support from anybody, it was me being my friend, and it was doing a lot of things that were, lots of things that sound really cheesy and that I really understand now. And something that I realised that I probably should say more about is how I have no shame anymore, and the lack of shame, I just don't feel it anymore, and I don't feel embarrassed, and anyone's attempt to make me feel ashamed or embarrassed just don't work. And that's not because I've found self-acceptance, it's because I have peeled away anything in my life that would cause me to feel shame. And that happens from two things. One, it means apologising, putting things to right as soon as you know you've done something wrong. And an apology, it has to be appropriate, it has to be fitting to the thing that you've done wrong. So if you haven't apologised properly, then you should feel shame. So I don't feel shame anymore, I just realise that I've done something wrong, and I'll put it to right. And I'll work at that, and I can give some examples of that at a later time. Like the bigger addict that you've been, the bigger the apology has to be, and the other person does not have to accept it. And I don't like saying to people, please forgive me, because that's a favour that they've got to do for you. What your job is, you're not, they don't have a duty to you to apologise, to forgive you. You have a duty to them to apologise and to put it right. If you are true to what you know to be the right thing to do, I think everyone actually knows what that is, and that person wants to be a dick about it, then, you've still discharged your moral duty to them, but you've really got to make sure that you have. And the other thing is that the shame that I used to feel as a highly neurotic person, which neurotic doesn't mean crazy or paranoid, neurotic in like psychology and psychiatry, it's sort of juxtaposed with sort of character disordered. So it just means you've got an excess of conscience rather than an insufficient level of conscience. So people tend to feel guilt and shame a lot if they're neurotic, which I am. And shame and guilt are extraordinarily important emotions, and they are known as pro-social emotions, because people who work on dispelling shame without doing anything to deserve not feeling shame are either personality disordered, cluster Bs, or well on their way to cultivating that. You should never feel okay with yourself simply by trying to change your mindset about yourself. You should try to feel okay about yourself because you're doing the right thing. But I had a lot of toxic shame, which is shame that has nothing to do with what you're doing morally, and has to do with really the kinds of reactions that people who don't have any genuine decency or any pro-social emotions impose on you. And I encountered that today when there was a woman who was really shouting in the street and very angry and sounding quite abusive, but I because of what I've been through, I could see that she was very upset. And there was passers-by and rubberneckers, and one guy was standing outside his house filming her on his phone. And I just crossed the road and I just approached her and I said, "Are you okay, what's up?" Anyway, she was just having a really hard time, and she, I won't go into a lot of detail, but she was having a really, really hard time, and she actually calmed down a hell of a lot when someone actually just gave her the time of day rather than just sort of treating her like a freak. And so the kind of shame that you feel from you know, getting to your absolute limit and making a spectacle of yourself in public because people are being absolute arseholes to you, you don't have to feel shame about that, and I don't feel shame about that anymore. The people who are standing there filming you while you're having a perfectly understandable meltdown because of the way human evil operates in society, that's not shame that you should feel, that's shame that other people should feel. And yeah, it's just the most liberating thing. And I had a pretty toxic person from my past pop up recently and tell me that I hadn't changed. And it's like, oh buddy, you have no idea what you're fucking talking about. I have changed so much. Anyway.